What's up, everybody? So today I'm doing the top 10 dumbest mistakes I've made as a collector, and I hope that by telling my stories, and hopefully you guys think they're interesting, and hopefully you'll learn from my mistakes. I've made a ton of them, some that I probably shouldn't admit to, but I thought it would be fun to kind of tell the stories, and I'd love to hear some of the stories that you guys have to tell. So they do get progressively worse as I go through it. So, the first couple I had to kind of wedge in there, but as I get to number one, you'll definitely want to stay tuned, because some of the stories that I have towards the bottom of the list or at the top of the list are pretty crazy. So at number 10, this is a really cool card. It's a Mookie Betts Bowman Sterling rookie card. What I do, and this is something I actually recommend, is that when I go on vacation, and I go to Long Beach Island every year for about a week, whenever I go on vacation, or usually when I go on vacation, I'll bring like a box of packs with me. So 2 years ago, I went down to Long Beach Island for a week, there for about 6 nights, 7 days, and a Bowman Sterling has 6 packs. So what I do is every day I get to open a pack while I'm on vacation. So day 2, I get like this crazy stomach flu, and I'm just a mess, like just in bed all day long. And I decide to treat myself. I'd only opened 1 pack at that point, and I go, you know what? I'm going to open all 5 packs, because I'm literally in bed all day long instead of being at the beach. And I didn't get much, but probably the biggest card that I got was this Mookie Betts card. And because I wasn't feeling well, I always take my best cards and I put them in penny sleeves and then top loaders. And you'll see here that I really did a terrible job of getting. This is among like a couple of cards. This is probably the best card, which is why I'm showing it. And you can see with the black borders, it's pretty obvious that I damaged the card as I was getting it into the top loader. Just a word to the wise, like if you're not feeling well, it's probably best to wait to, because my hands were shaking and I'm just like trying to jam it into the penny sleeve. Just a word to the wise, just to be careful when you're putting your cards into penny sleeves. At number 9, and you guys have seen this video or this card before. I think I ended up paying like $30. It says 35 here. I think I paid $30 for this card at a card show pretty recently, and the card came back as trimmed by PSA. Oh, I'm sorry, it didn't meet the minimum size requirements. Just a card that I decided to put in there because I did pay $30, and I got it graded, and it didn't come back with the size requirements. I actually do plan on submitting this card again to PSA to see if there's consistency. I guess this next PSA submission will be a sort of an experiment. At number 8 so when I was younger, I used to buy cards in bulk, and I think I've showed you guys, if you watched the history of baseball cards, I used to buy cards in bulk. Sometimes I'd buy a rookie and be like, okay, well maybe he'll pan out, and let's see if I can get him out. And you can see here I have a ton of Cal Daniels 1987 Topps cards. I didn't do it too often, but one time I actually guessed correctly. And you can see here, I guessed correctly on the Chipper Jones rookie card. All of these are Chipper Jones rookie cards. And the reason why this is I have it on my dumbest mistakes list, and I have even more of this, is that, even more. It's like I bought a bunch of them. So it's actually like one of the greatest things that happened. But then what I did is, this card started off in the Commons box. Then it went to, because of my system that I have, I put it was in the Commons box, then it was in like the $2 binder, then I moved it to the $3 binder, then I moved it to penny sleeves, then I moved it to top loaders, and during that process, you guys won't be able to tell with this video, but every single one of these cards has like a little bit of damage on it in the corners or whatever. I mean, it's still awesome that I own these Chipper Jones cards, but it's just frustrating that I have so many of these cards, but none of them are in really great condition. In fact, what I did is I went through every single one of these and submitted the best looking one, and it ended up getting an 8.5, which is not terrible, but it's just frustrating that, you know, the center, well, this is, I guess, got a low grade because of the centering, but to have that many Chipper Jones cards and not having a single one that's in like really nice condition is just a little frustrating. At number 7 is the, I've submitted hundreds of cards at this point, to PSA and BGS, and every once in a while you're going to get a dud that comes back with a really low grade. I think that this is probably the card that was the biggest dud in terms of the grade, and you can see here that it got a 4. If you look at it, you know, it's got great corners, great centering, but I think what brought it down is it almost looks like there's like some... now that I look at it, it might be like jam or something that's on there that I probably could have wiped off. I also submitted a Phil Rizzuto card from the 50s that got a 3.5, but at least that card is from the 50s. This is from like the late 70s, and to get a 4 is pretty bad. But I've had a couple of duds that have come back, and I think this probably is the biggest dud, and to be honest with you, the fact that it has this 4 on it makes this card, you know, just not as exciting for me as it was when I was younger. At number 6, and I promise these will get more and more ridiculous as I go on, is this, when I bought this A-Rod card, A-Rod had just signed with the Yankees, and I, just like maybe a lot of collectors, I hadn't collected in a long time. It was like my first go-around with baseball cards since I collected in like the early 90s, and I thought that when he signed with the Yankees, he was going to win multiple World Series. He did win one championship, but I didn't know about the steroids. I didn't, I assumed that he was going to break all the records, especially the home run record. And then on top of that, I ended up buying, I didn't want to pay, like I noticed that PSA 10s were a lot more expensive, but I could buy this Gem 10 for a lot less. And looking back, it actually probably worked out because I would have paid a fortune for a PSA 10. But I did pay, I think I paid close to $200 for this card. That's probably would go for like $40 today. And then on top of that, I submitted this to get graded and by PSA in the gem holder, and they came back that it was trimmed. So anyway, just kind of a frustrating card, but it is what it is. At number 5, I've had these cards for a while, and look at this. You can see that it's bent now. I have the problem with these cards. They're really cool. Let's take a look here at the back, and the Red Man cards from the 1950s, and you can see here this is Roy Campanella, but you can see that it's got some damage there. The Gene Woodling has damage on it, and then the Johnny Mize, and these were really nice cards when I first got them, but have since been damaged because I just have not found a way to kind of put them in a nice holder. And it's just something that's just, and this goes for the 89 Bowman and the Topps Big cards. Like, if I have nothing to put them in, I have like no way to protect the cards. And maybe at the next show that I go to in late April, I'll find a way to get these into something to sort of take care of them. But you can see over the years, they just haven't been taken care of the way they should be, which is really frustrating. At number 4, so up until recently, I didn't own any T206 cards, but when I was a kid, I did, so like all the T2, I think I owe 5 T206 cards, but I collected them literally over the last year or two. But when I was a kid, I used to own a T206 card, And I remember when I was with my neighbor, and we used to like trade baseball cards, and that's what kids used to do in like the early '90s, like late '80s. And I just wanted to give you guys the worst trade I've ever made. And I don't remember what T206 card it was, but I owned a T206. I don't think it was in the greatest condition, but I basically traded my T206 card to my neighbor for this beautiful 1986 Donruss Cecil Fielder rookie. And I believe this was like right after Cecil hit. There was one year where he hit like 50 home runs, and he was sort of a big star, and this was his rookie card, and I really wanted to own it. So I traded my T206 card for this Cecil Fielder card, which is probably the worst trade I've ever made. So at number 3 is just investing in the 80s. And you can see here, these are all Greg Olson cards, and I have a lot more Greg Olson than this. Like, this is just a very small sample. I remember just going to these 500 table shows as a kid, these East Coast National Gloria Rothstein shows, and coming away with just boxes of 89 Donruss and 88 Donruss, and just wish I could go back in time and just maybe pick up a couple of Jordans and maybe some vintage cards while I was at it. At number 2 is the 1948 Leaf Babe Ruth card. So about 6 years ago, my wife was like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And at first she was going to get me a year's supply of Massage Envy. And I was like, how about a 1948 Leaf Babe Ruth card? And she thought I was nuts. Turns out I was nuts because, when I first got back into collecting, I was like, oh, maybe, and this is an example. Somebody just paid probably $500 to $600 on this card that who knows if it's real or not. And it was one of those things that I purchased the card, and I remember getting it in the mail. And as soon as I held the card in my hand, it was one of those things, like, it looked real when I purchased it on the internet. But as soon as I had it in my hand, I was like, something doesn't look right. It was something about the stock of the card. It was a little bit thicker than it should have been. But even after looking at it, I wasn't totally convinced that it was a fake card until I took a picture. And you can see here, 1949 Leaf Babe Ruth, questionable authenticity came back. And I actually, not only did I bring it to BGS, but then I brought it to SGC, and they also said that it was a counterfeit card. And needless to say, it was a very difficult process to get my money back. And, if there's one thing you guys learn from this video, it's to be very, very careful about what you see on the internet, especially with these raw cards. And if you're going to buy a raw card, make sure that it's from a very reputable dealer, because I learned the hard way that there are some counterfeit cards out there. Luckily, I was able to get my money back, but it wasn't easy. I had to show the seller proof. She didn't believe me at first. And then she didn't want to give me the refund, and I had to get eBay involved. So, anyway, part of the reason for this video is hopefully you guys learn from my stupidity. So, number 1, you can see here, this is a Bobby Richardson signed baseball, Juan Marshall, Toby Hall. I've never been much of an autograph collector besides if it's on a baseball card. I've always been a baseball card junkie, even as a kid. I've never been really that into it, but you can see here, these are some pretty nice balls. It's still awesome to have it. I used to own a Hank Aaron signed baseball when I was younger, and if you've ever seen The Sandlot, you might know where I'm going with this story. And So I had a couple of my friends over to my house, and we wanted to play catch. And I'm looking all over the garage for a baseball to play catch with, and we can't find a baseball. So finally, I go, oh, I know where I can get a baseball. I run up to my room and I grab the Hank Aaron signed baseball. And I remember my friends being like, do you really want to, play catch with it? And I'm like, guys, we'll take it easy, just it might get a couple of scuffs on it, but no big deal. And so we play catch with it. Everything's fine. There's maybe a little scuff on it, whatever. Then I put it back in the room. Then the next day, do the same thing. And if you've ever been a young kid and you played catch, you know how it starts. It starts with just playing a regular, back and forth catch, but then that gets boring, and then you want to do diving throws, and then you start diving for the ball, and then I remember one of my friends eventually breaks out a bat and hits one. And there was one in particular. He'd keep trying to get it closer and closer to the woods. And I remember there was one ball that he just smacked right into the woods. And it was starting to get dark outside. And I'm like, I looked all over for the ball. I couldn't find it. But you know what? I'm like, I'll find it tomorrow. And then I couldn't find it the next day. And then, a day becomes a week, and a week becomes a year. And to this day, there is a Hank Aaron signed baseball in my parents' backyard. I have no idea where it is. My parents have since left that house. So somebody, who knows, maybe one day will find this Hank Aaron signed baseball, and without a doubt, the dumbest collecting thing I've ever done. But anyway, hope you guys enjoyed these stories. Not much else to mention. We'll be getting the baseball card crate at the end of March. I do have a couple of more pickups that I'm looking into, and then I have a show in April that I'm going to in White Plains. If any of you guys are going, please let me know. So talk to you later. Thanks a lot.